All right. Hello, everyone. Glad we're doing another discussion. So there's quite a few questions here that that are going to allow have us answer. So to start off, the first one is, after reviewing the very long case study, what do we think were Bud Light's main marketing objectives with the influencer partnership? Now, there's quite a few. That's pretty diverse right there. But Nathan, do you want to start off with that?
So when I'm reading the case study here, one thing that really stood out to me is that they quoted they wanted to bring in new drinkers. That was like one of their biggest reasons for that, and that's what was quoted in the case study. And they just had a really strong it was a really strong customer base that already liked them, and they just wanted to bring in new drinkers of different areas, and that would be people that would be really into the transgender rights and that kind of crowd. So they're really just kind of like getting different crowds to bring in more drinkers.
And yeah, like I mean, I'll say even like reading it, I was blown away by the amount of opinions that not only you have stated, but the amount of diversity that these people were talking about was just blowing away. I mean, there's so much here that I can't even go. Like, it's too much to even go over right now. But like, because there's more things that went wrong than right. But anyways, Josh, do you want to continue on that one?
Yeah, it just straight up just looks like their main idea and their main objective with the influence partnership was DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equality. Or diversity, equality, and inclusion. There we
Yeah,
go.
something like that.
I mean, that's honestly what the whole idea. I believe this main marketing objective was to try to tap into, like Nathan said, another demographic that was not a demographic they were probably tapped into when they launched this program. Because a lot of times when you think Bud Light, you think kind of the more rugged around the edges type male, the beer drinker. That's who you thought of when you thought of Bud Light. So I think they're just trying to tailor to another audience.
Yeah.
And what we saw in the case study is it completely backfired on them, and they had a brand to rebuild. So that's what I think it was. Just that's their main objective is DEI.
Yeah, I mean, and I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with trying to, not have their audience, kind of family friendly, if that's the right way of putting it. But um, I can kind of understand why there was a little bit of backlash, but at the same time, the amount that there was still blows my mind. I mean, like obviously Nathan, you touched up on some good points there, but is there any more that you want to, talk about?
Did you say me? Sorry, you cut
Yes,
out for
yes.
me.
Sorry. Is my audio coming through good?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So what do I have here? uh, really just based on so they had Dylan as like their spokesperson, and
Yeah,
a
he
lot
was
of
like
people
their
were being
main guy.
spokespeople at that time, and just they were just looking for because they have already had a bunch of influencers in the past that were like how Josh said, rugged like beer drinkers, and they were just using Dylan here as like a new person to really expand their market. So I think choosing Dylan as that was like what they believed would be the best opportunity to get like the biggest outreach from the fans or Bud Light drinkers they already had. So they were trying to get like away from that because they already marketed them forever.
Yeah, yeah. But obviously, with the whole loyal fan base of Bud Light, it was kind of like a pretty mixed emotions. And again, that's going to come with the brand as huge as Bud Light. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered if it was Bud Light, Budweiser, Coors Light. Regardless, like there's going to be people that are going to hate it when there's one minor change, but in some people it's like the greatest change in the brand's history. But I don't know, like I have always just kind of looked at it through like an optimistic lens and like a fair lens rather than just going like, no, you change one thing, like that's not right, like how dare you, like you shouldn't do
But
that.
I don't even think they were changing anything though. I think it just came to they're just trying to get another target audience, and obviously they've done many changes to the can for like special cans. I don't. I'll probably disagree with you on that. I don't think it was like a change in terms of the can or that. It was, or even the brand. It was just trying to get an influencer involved with the drink to tailor to another audience. And the audience that they had, that was the complete backfire. Like they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it didn't work out. So I don't think they were trying to target like a brand change, an image change. I think they were just
Well,
trying to open up more
yeah.
doors, and then that caused just an absolute massive falling out with their customers they had. It didn't resonate with them. It didn't sit with them. And I know like the later questions says who owns the brand, but you know that kind of their customers didn't agree with what they did, and that was the bad part.
Yeah,
They
and I will say, like, I mean, I'll say my opinion is pretty diverse with the whole case study, but I do agree with you on those points. So, Jeff, do you have any points that you would like to make on all that?
Well, yeah, their primary objective here was to hit a different audience than they've hit for past decades, and obviously that didn't go over too well. It was a really big, like a really big thing in the news, but it seemed that they like completely, yeah, they just wanted to diversify their audience, I guess, and reach new customers that might not have been interested in the past. Um, and yeah, I don't know if it was the best idea, obviously, but that was definitely the goal they had in mind there.
Yeah, and that's a very fair point. Now, I will say, like, this second question here, like, it talks about in Josh and Nathan and Josh were kind of touching up on Dylan. Like, it was mostly talking about like the kind of like impact that he was making on the brand, and like to a larger extent, was he a general good fit for the brand? And I will say, like, again, my opinions is pretty diverse, as you probably heard, a little bit earlier already, but um, I will say, like, I think it like there's the amount of diversity that you can have with when delivering that kind of message to, on a brand like Bud Light, it comes up in different ways. But I personally think that he did the best that he could for the brand, and I do think he is a pretty decent fit. But
she
you know, but um,
she she did for the brand.
sorry.
She did for the brand,
Okay. Well,
right?
yeah, but anyways, Nathan, I mean, you want to touch up on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, sorry, can you repeat the question? I kind of
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah.
lost
So
then.
I will say, like, this second question is kind of tied to the first one in a little bit, but so the overall question is, like, to what extent was Dylan a good fit for the brand?
So in hindsight, obviously, you could say there was nothing if you're looking like strictly at the statistics of what they've sold. But if you're just talking about like opinion based and during the times, I'd say uh, the good thing they did was it helped the representation, and they have it here in their equality here. It's helped to like, sorry, expand the representation because it was really broad and narrow for like a certain type of people, and they're trying to expand it. And Dylan was probably like a great person to expand it, you know, in that sense. And something that I think there's good and there's bad. One bad thing is the brand was always consistent in the past with their target market, hitting the same type of people, like the hardcore, like beer drinkers, the manly man, or whatever they were going for, and they just kind of jumped aside and followed what everyone else was doing at that time. So it's just really inconsistent, and in marketing, consistency is one of the most important things you can have because most of the time your consumer base is pretty consistent with what they want in their products. So as a personal, I don't think they even had to market it because in this time there's a lot of things going on with the transgender rights and all that. So a lot of companies were for it, a lot of companies were maybe against it, but most of the two was either for it or they just weren't saying anything at all to steer clear of the whole controversy behind it. And I think, in hindsight, obviously, Bud Light probably should just not have said anything about it because
Are you are you referring to like the DEI push?
uh, I'm not really the whole DEI, but that is with it. I'm talking about the whole like transgender rights because at this
Yeah, yeah,
time,
yeah.
a lot of other companies were like getting spokespeople for transgender because I think it was this came out during I want to say it was like a transgender
Yeah, it was during like
awareness
the
area.
DEI and like yeah,
Was it?
transgender.
Are they?
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
was
sure if they're
something
similar or
like
not.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're similar. I could be wrong though, but I mean, yeah, I think I agree with you. It was just the wrong time to try to make a push against into that market, but
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because it was, I don't know, like you do look at these influencer like the brand building and what their roles are for what's good and what's bad. I mean, yes, she hits every metric on this list why she would have been a good person for Bud Light, but it also had to look, there should have been a deeper case study into the marketing behind like what is a consumer that they have going to think of it. I don't know if you guys saw the YouTube video for Bud Light Fallout intensifies over, I think, I can't remember what the end of the title was, but it's like near the bottom. And it's like the guy pouring out Bud Light and he's drinking, I think, Coors Banquet,
Yeah,
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember this Bud Light downfall. And it was everyone on social media was centralizing like if you drink Bud Light, you're going to turn into a girl because this was her first year in her transition to a female. So it was like that's what I remember out of this whole entire thing is if you drink Bud Light, you're going to become a girl, and that's like why everyone went behind it and got behind like don't drink it, boycott it, don't have it because they're taken away from um our culture as Bud Light drinkers, right? They're saying if you drink it, you're going to be a girl. So I don't know. It was really weird, but
Yeah, like that is yeah, like that.
Brianna, I know you haven't had a time to chime in about question one or two, so I wanted to see if you had
Yeah.
any differenting factors or what your thoughts
Yeah,
were.
like do like what's your overall view on this?
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's like I know people don't like change, and especially in this time where there's so many like opinions, it's not a good time to make such a big change in, a brand and like trying to b- like go to a different demographic. Like, especially when there's so much controversy over, you know, I don't I don't want to like
No,
You're
I will
not
say
going
I'm with
to
you on that one too. Like that, it's such a diverse topic.
yeah. I don't yeah. It's just I don't want to like say anything,
Yeah, no, like
but
I'm there, I'm right there with you. Like that whole, as you're saying, demographic alone for me is one of the very few topics I like refuse to talk about, just because it is
yeah.
so diverse and there are so many positive and negative opinions that, like, regardless
Mhm.
of either the good or bad side, that's like I don't have enough
Yeah.
knowledge of either or to even want to talk about it to begin with, because
Yeah.
again, I'm not a political person, and even regardless of that, it's too diverse for me to want to talk about. So like
Yeah.
it's so weird. But like even that statement alone, like what Josh was saying, like that to me, like that just sounds like I can come up with a million opinions about how weird that sounds, but again, too diverse
Yeah.
for me. But
I feel like you have to be an expert in the topic to even like push to change your demographic to like that.
it's like if you don't know like the finest of details about like just
Mhm.
about that alone,
Yeah.
if you don't know anything about it, then and you say just one bad thing, like the whole world's
Yeah,
crashing
the
on
whole
you.
brand is ruined.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but if you're Bud Light and you're looking into it as like just straight cut and dry, like exactly what you guys are talking about, take the politics out of it, take the DEI out of it, take anything that anybody's going to think about it. Just look at straight metrics. How as a company would we get Bud Light to tap into a new market? Okay, well let's utilize this DEI push. Let's utilize this transgender right push. We're going to be able to get ourselves into a new market because we're going to back an influencer that is huge in that industry. So Bud Light's positioning to do that and have special cans, special like 365 days as a girl, strictly political removed out of it. The marketing team did the right move because
Yeah.
they weren't looking at it from anything other than it's the right move. It's going to help us tap into markets. It's going to help us be a part of the brand. Um, and they weren't thinking about what's the political backlash that's going to come from this. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
afterwards, they saw it. They saw this as the political backlash. People are going to put politics into it. They're not going to agree with it. and they're going to fight it. And they 100% they fought it online.
Yep.
They went right on the social media. They fought against it.
I mean, yeah, they did the best they could.
Arguably, maybe something good came out of it though too, because any publicity is good publicity, bad or good, it's still publicity. I'm sure millions more people knew about Bud Light. Did it hurt the brand? Probably. Do they have to like build it back up to where it once was? Most likely. But in terms of just strictly what the questions ask, was she a good fit? 100%. Metric wise, yes. Politically, probably not. But take that out of it. Nobody wants to chat about that. So
yeah.
straight up value to the questions that it asks, yes, great fit.
So I think I'm gonna have to disagree with you based on what you said about marketing, the whole marketing strategy, all the other stuff, yeah. But when it comes to like the marketing, I think the consistency in brand is just a lot better than trying to do something new. And it's brands always take risk every time they do something like that. And obviously, their marketing was trying something new. In hindsight, it didn't work, and it actually hurt them sales wise. Maybe not. Well, it hurt them sales wise, and it hurt them in the opinion of their what's it called, their main demographic that bought it. But it made them positive in a different demographic. So did they gain more? Did they lose more than they gained? That's where I'm thinking. I'm not sure. Like, did they win more or did they lose more? Does that am I making sense with that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
did they
Yeah.
gain more following than they possibly lost? That's the marketing way I'm thinking about it. But because if I had to guess, they probably lost more. I'm not sure how much more. Because once you build a fan base, like a loyal fan base, they're with you, they're buying. It's a lot easier to keep a fan base than it is to get a fan base.
True.
So if this was a brand new product, like a brand new type of drink, this would be a great one. But because it's already had a loyal base, it's kind of like a hard, argument to make about whether marketing team. They probably had good intentions, but the end result.
Yeah, I think though this was a special limited edition thing. It was like an IMC campaign, right? It was something that was because even the can they made, it says it was a promotional can. I don't think they were planning long term to have a switch over. They were just trying to gather more consumers before they switched their brand back to the same generic can. But I think even that 6 months or whatever they were trying to run it for, that just tarnished it so bad. And that's why they had that immediate fallout. And I think to your point, did they gain more than they lost? I would argue they probably lost a lot more than they gained out of this because of that 6 month backlash. I mean, I think they had to pull all these cans off the shelf. I think that's how bad it got.
Yeah.
So, strictly looking at that metric, but I know we're getting probably really, really short on time left.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have anything on this question before we progress to the next one so we can get through this?
Well,
I don't mean to cut you off, Nathan. I just know we have to stick to a
you're good.
time window. I mean, you have a very good, valid point too. It would be awesome to chat for like 3 hours on this, but I think we do need to progress steadily to be on time.
I would say, Jeff, do you want to make any final points?
Well, I just wanted to say I think it was a absolutely terrible decision on Bud Light's behalf. It just did not align with the message that they've been putting out for as long as Bud Light's been around for decades. They've been trying to align with, those very traditional masculine values and with a lot of sports culture and stuff like that. And this whole Dylan Mulvaney thing, it was in complete conflict with those values. And I feel like a lot of like the loyal customers to the brand, they saw it as very, very forced upon them, and they probably found it very disrespectful, kind of to the views that they had.
Yeah, and I will say, like, to kind of tie that into the next question, which the next question actually mostly talks about where we think that would we have supported Dylan in the promotion of this brand, or well, more specifically, if we were in charge of the Bud Light brand, would we have supported Dylan's promotion? Why or why not? And I mean, Jeff, you pretty much stated your opinion. So, like, Nathan, do you want to continue on that one?
We're in the third question, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I kind of already talked about this. How
Yeah,
I'll
like
go over it
the second and
briefly.
third questions were pretty similar, but but we were talking more about like the overall, like, the like base part of it. But like the way, I mean, because I think for the most part it's pretty mixed if like whether we would support him or not. But like where do we all stand? Like, would we support this or not? I mean, obviously, Jeff, you told us ours, but
For
like, what
me,
do you
I
guys
guess
think?
I can take it over while others, but for me personally, analytically, just exactly from what we read, like why is he a good or she is a good fit analytically? Yes, I most likely would if I was in charge of the Bud Light brand because analytically it makes sense. Take everything out of it, just numbers alone. Yes, it makes sense. Put into politically, timelines, how long the movement was around for, it was too early to make a bold move like that and to push into a market to try to capture more consumers. So if I was in charge and I was to be in that position early on, I would probably have not have supported this move based off of it's too early to tell what's going to happen in a market trend. If it's going to stick around as something that is going to be a long term thing, it'd just be way too early to tell. So analytically and my other points put together, no, I would not support it. That's my answer on number
And
three.
that's a valid point too. I mean, does anybody else have any final statements on that? I mean, because we already touched upon it with the question 2 and 3; they were pretty much tied in. But does anyone else have any final points before we move on?
No, I just agree with Josh. If there was no politics in it, yeah, I think Dylan is, I would support the promotion with Dylan. Um, if there was no politics, I think everything would go great. But unfortunately, that's not the case.
There's the whole political view and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Say Nathan, any final points?
No, not in this question.
I mean, I'll say we pretty much answered them all
Yeah.
in question 2 and 3. So
What did Jeffrey say? I can't remember what Jeffrey said. Yes or no?
I think no, right?
No.
Yeah,
No.
I think I think it was a pretty bold no from what I remember. But anyways,
Definitive no.
Definitive. I like it. Definitively no. All right, question four.
well, anyway. So in question 4 is so the case study, it highlights pretty significant issues, but from what we were able to read, what were the main reasons that that this promotion didn't resonate with the customers and created negative earned media? Again, these questions are pretty similar,
Yeah,
but
I'm sure we covered it. I mean, again, it goes back to everybody started thinking that if you drink Bud Light, you're going to turn into a girl.
yeah,
That was the
exactly.
negative. That was a negative media backlash. Um, if analytically, it all made sense, but
Yeah,
throw politics into it, throw the customer base that Bud Light has into it, where they're kind of the more rugged around the edges. They're a manly man. I drink Bud Light. It just comes in a nice streamlined blue and white can. Yeah, definitely the wrong target demographic that you already have as an existing customer. Bad move, and that's why they're in negative media, and now they have to recover from it. And I don't even know if they have fully recovered from it yet. And I think it's already been what? How many years now? When this came
um,
out?
5,
5 years,
5,
yeah,
2018.
something
So
like
or
that. Yeah,
more than that, 2020.
or 20. Yeah.
But it's still recovering from it. In my opinion, I think it was a horrible move by Bud Light. So
Mhm.
that's my opinion on number four.
yeah. Say Nathan, what about you? I mean, and we've already covered it to like a pretty decent extent, but anything you want to add?
Yeah, so doing some reading on it, there's a section where it says something about brand identity if it's owned by the consumers, and well, I have that written down here. So I think the brand identity is owned by the consumers or the people who buying the product. So just a little example, not related to this topic. So if you're trying to make a brand, you have to have a brand identity. You're not gonna, you might try making it a certain way, but if people with a different brand identity like that or have that, they're you're working for them because you want them to buy it. So you're gonna shift to get more sales, obviously, as a large company would. So you're going to go with the brand identity. That's why you would market to a certain type of crowd of people. And um, the so to kind of like bring it back, the identity that the consumers had, they own that identity. We are the consumer, so you're going to follow our identity, or we're not going to buy it. And this happens with all types of products for whatever reason. And if based on your opinion, they didn't accept it at all. So I mean,
Yeah,
actually, they didn't like it, so that's why sales dropped.
without
Because
without customers, there's no work.
Yeah,
So I agree
like
with Nathan. Without customers, what's the point of even doing it? So yeah, you gotta be mindful of who's your demographic.
yeah,
And
because like if
I know
yeah,
politics is always a factor.
I mean, because if you're making it like if you're making one image for a certain amount of people, and then like a different niche of customers are like, no, we want this. It's like it's going to be pretty diverse there. But anyways, again, like these last three questions have been pretty much the same, just more expanded upon. But anyway, so question number, or actually, Jeff, did you want to add anything?
No, for this one, I think I already kind of stated what a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
stuff that would go with this question. So
And again, and again, very yeah, very fair point. Yeah, actually, 1 second. Okay. So question five is a little bit different. So do we think that the promotion is going to have a much more long-term impact on the sales of Bud Light, or do we think that their sales are going to recover? So, and again, in a way we've touched upon it, but like
Uh, so,
I think I touched on it in the last question. I think they're going to struggle for a while.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, like
so yeah. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
So, when like jokes happen or like jokes, I'm gonna call it a joke. Just you gotta hang out with me. They last for a very long time and they can go years and years. So before I even turned 21, I'm like 22 now. Before I turned 21, this happened, and the whole joke was like how Josh said, if you drink it, you're gonna turn to a girl, or you're gay. Like that's what people would say. I mean, if you have buddies that are drinking this and they see you holding, that kite in the can, which nobody had that can for very long because it got. But if someone sees you with a Bud Light, they're gonna. So before I could even legally drink, Bud Light was known as the gay beer, as if like jokingly, if you drink it, you're gay. Now most people like with most of these like type of controversial things, it goes like give it a year or two and nobody cares anymore. But the fact that like it's like a trend to joke about it, whether whatever your opinion is, that's the truth. It's a trend to joke about it. If somebody if you're having a Bud Light, someone calls you gay, or you're going to become a girl for drinking it, that's just the reality we live in. So I think
Yeah.
those jokes are going to last forever, because I mean those last with all types of beer. Like if you have, for example, a Corona, you're like, oh, are you on a beach or whatever? That's kind of like, if
Yeah,
anyone
yeah.
else knows what I'm talking about in that kind of aspect.
And
So,
that's a fair aspect too, but
mhm.
yeah, like I will say, like I know I'm not. I personally don't understand. I think just the advancement in social media really is making a lot of this turn into what it has, and I will say, like, there are some of these jokes that I'm like I don't stand for, especially that one. Like that's ridiculous in my opinion, but I don't know. That's another topic that's really
Yeah, but
diverse to talk about.
yeah, social media sensationalizes everything. So I mean, that's just the way that the world's going to be now. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's going to spread like wildfire. I mean, I didn't. I'm all the way in. I'm all the way in Canada. You guys are 27 hours away from me. I make the exact same jokes about Bud Light.
yeah,
It's just sensationalization in the media. It's going to happen, and publicity is publicity. I think any publicity is still good. I do like the old saying, because now people know about Bud Light far more than they knew about Bud Light. In a bad way, sure. Still, they know about Bud Light. So once they recoup the brand, they're going to know about it. They're going to watch the news. So,
yeah. But uh, I mean,
Jeffrey, anything?
yeah. Does anybody else have any final points?
yeah, I think it will have a lasting impact on the sales, because that loyalty that they built over the years, I think it's very easy, or not very easy, it's very difficult to build up that loyalty with a customer. But I think that this whole thing shows that it's very easy for you to lose that trust with someone. Like you can throw it away in an instant with a campaign that doesn't resonate with your audience.
Yeah, fair point.
And yeah, I know personally, like my dad's a Bud Light guy, and he can't even like go to a family event anymore without getting made fun of due to this campaign. So
Gets harassed.
yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's all I got on this one.
Brianna?
No, everything's been said. I know many people who drank Bud Light, used to drink Bud Light, but don't anymore simply because, um, people will say something to them. And, you know, they just don't feel like dealing with that. But I know some people who drink Bud Light and still drink Bud Light because they don't care and they like the taste of it. So it's just, some people stay with the company, some won't.
Yeah. again, it's just and the kind of what you're saying. It's all just perspective of how you see it, and because and speaking of that, like I have a friend who I think I saw him last. He's like, "Oh yeah, I popped a quick can of Bud Light," and then he's like, didn't even talk about like the whole social media, all that. He's just like, "Yeah, I like the taste of it. It's good." And I'm like, well, I'm not a fan of it, but oh well.
Question number 6. Sorry, I don't mean to speed you up. I think we're just running really low on time.
Yeah. Well, anyway, and no, and valid. So, since we are all marketers, what advice would we have for the brands looking to implement the DEI initiatives?
Politics is a thing. Be careful. The media will sensationalize everything. So make sure you're doing your research on it. Don't just look at analytics. Put in the human factor. That's my opinion. Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my opinion is, well, when you're starting off a company, you got to take the highest risk you can. When you're at the top of the line, every other company takes the smallest amount of risk possible. And if you ask anybody in the street before this, is this a big risk? They said, yeah, it's a pretty big risk. So I mean, they were willing to take the risk. They could have had something great, but I guess the risk wasn't worth it in the end. So that's my take on it.
I will say my opinion pretty much is the same as Josh's. Like, I mean, he stated it a lot better than I could have. I mean, mine would have probably been a lot more, brief than that. But I'm up there with what Josh and kind of both of what you said in a way. But Brianna, do you have an opinion about it? Or I guess, or advice essentially?
Yeah. It's just think about what everyone else in like what social media backlash you could have if you decided to make a small change.
Valid, I guess. Jeff, you've stated a lot of opinion today, so especially earlier. But do you want to finish it off? Anything to say?
Yeah. So for the advice thing, I think if a company is gonna throw in like a DI initiative like this, it just needs to be aligned with your brand's current identity and like the customer base as a whole. And I don't think that the company should chase trends at the expense of like their loyal customers, which was like a majority of their fan base was not, on board with this whole thing, obviously.
Yeah, and that's very valid. So, yeah, I mean, we've pretty much got to our last question. I mean, it wasn't crazy difficult to answer, but I mean, does anybody else have any final things they want to shoot before we end it? Because I think we're
I'm
pretty
good.
much good. We're pretty good. All right. Well, hey, it was great talking with y'all, and I think we did a decent job. So yeah, that'll be it.